welcome to Brand Your Passion, the show that helps you turn the thing you love the most into something that people know and love you for. I'm your host, Holly Arnett, the brand coach for creatives, and I'm on a mission to make the world a more creative place, one brand at a time. If you're ready to get more eyes on your work, more dollars in your pocket, and more creativity in your life, you're in the right place. Welcome. Let's brand your passion. Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Brand Your Passion. I am so excited to be joined by the incredible Whitney Manney this week. Welcome to the show, Whitney.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Holly.
You are so welcome. Thank you for joining me. I would love, before we kick things off, if you would be able to introduce yourself to the people, tell everybody who you are and what you do before we dive into things.
Okay, for sure. My name is Whitney Manney. I am a fashion and textile designer. I am based in Kansas City, Missouri in the US. So I just create work that combines color, pattern, and texture. And really, WM is just about wearing your confidence, wearing your statement. And I'm a more is more kind of girl. So the bigger, the better over here.
Yeah, we are 100% with you on that. All that color, pattern, everything. We love it.
Yes.
So I did like a little bit of research about you, and I know that you started making fashion designs and making your own clothes when you were a teenager. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I started sewing when I was 13. 13 is like kind of a big birthday. So, I just asked for a sewing machine to be my big gift. My mama doesn't sew. I didn't really know anybody that sewed. I just asked for a machine. And my thought process was to basically be able to keep my clothes longer. So I'm 6 foot, and when I was growing up, it seemed like I would wake up a half an inch taller every day. So I was just constantly growing out of my clothes. And I was just like, okay, if I can turn the stuff that I love into something else, maybe I can keep my stuff longer. So that's really where it grew from. It wasn't I idolized any fashion designers or anything like that. I just wanted to keep my clothes for as long as I could.
Amazing. It's like a passion born out of practicality. I love it.
Exactly. For real. Yes.
So were you, or would you describe yourself as like creative at all before that? Or did that come through that?
No, definitely. I think that my parents always knew I was going to be some type of artist. It was just like, what would I gravitate towards? So I was always in every art class, art camps in the summers that I possibly could be in. But really, I only looked at that from the traditional approach of like photography and painting classes and drawing and ceramics and stuff like that. And even like creative writing. Honestly, I think that they thought I was going to be a writer of some sort. That was the other career plan. Honestly, it was kind of back and forth for a while, but fashion won out. But yeah, it was just kind of a question of, okay, which one will I pick? And like fashion, it was and still is such a challenge for me. All those other mediums kind of came really easy for me, but because I had no education of fashion or like understood it. I mean, talking about growing up in the Midwest in the 90s, early 2000s, the internet was not, what it is now. Things took a lot longer to, trends traveled a lot slower. And so I think I really liked the challenge, and I liked that nobody could tell me what it was. Like I could decide for myself what that meant for me.
That's so interesting that like the things that were easy were not the things that you gravitated towards. I love that you're obviously someone who like needs a challenge along the way.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. And so when you were like started to make clothes back when you were a teenager and everything, was your style like as colorful and bold as it is now, or has that kind of changed over time?
I mean, I don't know. What was I wearing back then? I have no idea. I don't even know if I want to remember for real.
Yeah.
No. What's funny is, okay, so like around the time that I really, really got into fashion, even before my sewing machine, so like Style Channel was a big thing, and like Limited Too was like everything in the world. That was like what we wanted, what we just dreamed of getting. So I would sit and like hand draw catalogs and like with different designs and stuff. And like I have my sketchbooks from 5th grade through now. I
Wow.
just keep them all. It's funny, half cringy, half inspiring to like look at them. It's just like, but you know,
Yeah.
a lot of then you're just copying what you're looking at. But you know, growing up when I did and just seeing like hip hop fashion and Black culture and fashion and seeing how my parents dress and my aunties and uncles dress, that was, you know, what I based fashion around. And that's what it meant to me, you know, so it just kind of made sense the direction that I went into, of, you know, bright colors and being really graphic, and having like strong mark making and all that stuff. I think the evolution definitely makes sense when I kind of line it all up together. But, you know, when you're young, I'm like, you know, I was making clothes for my Barbie and my Addie doll, just
Amazing.
trying some stuff.
I love that. And it's funny that you mentioned like drawing catalogs and things because
Yes.
a few creatives that I've talked to on this podcast back in the day when I asked them this question, they're like, oh yeah, I used to like draw magazines or make my own.
Uh-huh.
Like I remember sitting with my friend at lunchtime, making like drawing like a fashion magazine. And it must be just like
Yeah.
a thing that kids or young creatives are
But
like, this is the easiest way to do it.
yeah, well, I think because too, for that time period, print is how we got a lot of our information, right? And
Yeah.
so, like, my biggest goal at that time, I wanted to be on the cover of Teen People. Like, that
Yeah.
was like the goal. You know, so, and I constantly, like, my mama would use her leftover flight miles to get me magazine subscriptions
Oh.
because I love them so much, like Teen People and 17 and like all of those, you know, that was how we got, you know, our information. It wasn't like we could scroll through, you know, an app on our phone.
Yeah.
We had to flip through the glossies.
Yeah. I wonder if like young creatives now are like drawing Instagram feeds or something.
You're right.
The equivalent. The equivalent for
Right. Right.
So if we like fast forward a bit from starting to get into fashion and making your own clothes to starting Whitney Manney, the fashion label, how did that kind of start and where did you decide, okay, I'm going to make this a thing?
Yeah. So after my freshman year of high school, my family relocated to Phoenix, Arizona, and I went to a performing and visual arts high school out there. And so it was just the best experience. I got to take art class, you know, morning till afternoon pretty much,
Yeah.
and a lot more specialized classes. And towards like the end of my junior year, they added fashion classes. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this would be great because at this point, I am literally spending my nights and weekends in my room sewing, just making stuff, trying stuff. You know, me and my mom would get fabric from Walmart and try patterns and stuff like that. So that's all that I was doing. So it was great to be able to be in a classroom setting, somebody be like, actually, this is how you do this on the machine. Like, because I was just making stuff up and hoping for the best. So once I was able to kind of see like, okay, you can be a professional in fashion, it just like kind of hit a light for me. I mean, honestly, it was between journalism and fashion design. Within journalism, I wanted to go like the fashion route, but it got real close. I just kind of like was like, if I get into art school, that must mean I should go. And, you know, that's just the rationing of a 16-year-old. I mean,
Yeah.
at that point, you know, you got nothing to lose, really. You know, you're like, if it work, it work out. And it worked out, thank goodness. And while I was in school, when I got to school, the intention was always to be an entrepreneur. The thing is like, it's an interesting time to be in college, you know, during a history making recession. And, you know, things are just, it's not, college was not what I thought it was going to be just because of like what was happening in the world. And, you know, I wasn't able to take advantage of like doing internships in New York or LA or anything like that. So to me, I felt like I'm not a viable applicant for any job after school to be like, oh, I want to apply to be somebody's assistant, like a designer's assistant or a junior designer or anything like that. So my my problem solving said, okay, well, you just start your own business. I I don't know. Knowing what I know now, I don't know if like 31-year-old would encourage that. Like if I had to like go back, I don't know if I would have done that. But at the same time, I probably would have, because it's working out. I can't complain.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I can't complain. And so that was just my thought process. I am very realistic. And so I was like, I have 4 years to get it done. I can't take a gap year. I don't have the luxury of just finding myself. I
Hmm.
got to get it done.
Yeah.
And so, art school, it does not necessarily have business classes. So I made sure to like self-educate myself while being educated in the classroom as well, and find those resources that I needed, because the goal was to walk across the stage and work for myself. That was it. And
Amazing.
like, it took a little time to build everything up, but I have always been a full-time artist. I would be in studio 40 hours a week and still, work 3 part-time jobs, to support myself. But this has always been the main gig.
Yeah, amazing. I love what you just said about I'm going to walk across that stage and then it's going to be my time. I'm going to work for
Yeah.
myself. It's amazing. And so
Yeah.
when you did like start Whitney Manney and kind of build up this brand, did you do any quote unquote branding work from the beginning?
Hmm.
Tell me about that sort of process.
Yes. What's so funny though, the thing I think that really piped me up about being able to do it myself. So like when I was in school, like Tumblr was the thing. And so
Yes.
all the fashion girls on Tumblr were like building their Etsy's, and like beauty YouTubers were like creating their own businesses. And so I just copied what they did. I mean, it's not rocket science. You really do
Mhm.
not have to reinvent the wheel. And when I say copy everything they did, like really pay attention to how they staged everything, they processed what they started with, watch them 20-minute YouTube videos about how they did something, and really pick and choose like what I thought would work. While I was still in school, I did kind of start developing that stuff. That way I could test it in the classroom, get feedback from my peers, but then also test it like in the community, I guess you could say, because that's the people that's going to be buying my work,
Mhm.
not just people that graduated from art school. I need feedback
Yeah.
from both audiences. And I really I do have a genuine love for branding and stuff like that. And so I just kind of like worked on that while I was still in school. I made it a part of like one of my junior projects, and it just, kind of developed from there. And I made sure to interject it into each of my projects and kind of slide it in there into critique. Sometimes I'd be like, well, why are you doing this? You should be focusing on. And I'm like, child, don't worry. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I know what the plan is, so
That's smart. We're kind of weaving it in so you can do both at
yeah.
the same time. Yeah, I love that. So I assume like you said, you were like doing all that stuff yourself at the time,
Hmm.
like designing logos, everything. Has that
Yeah.
developed and changed till now? Like, have you changed your brand? If you have, did you do it?
Yeah. I'm still on the DIY train, honey.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So now my logo has evolved over the years. Right now it involves my handwriting. My WM is my handwriting. Right now I'm actually getting my website rebuilt, redesigned by somebody else. So a big old step for me, because I have literally done everything on my own.
Yeah.
But you get to a point where you're like, I'm tired. I don't have no ideas, and I don't want to learn how to do something else. I'm
Yeah.
just like, I can't go ahead, hire somebody. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
So I'm in that process of like getting the website redone by someone else. But I love how much of me is in everything. I think it
Yeah.
comes across, and I think it helps people connect with my work too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that as creatives, like so many of us, whether you are like a branding designer or not, like you
Hmm.
have so many of the like related skills, like design,
Right.
like
Yeah.
writing. That means you can actually do a really great job of DIYing your brand. Like you can do it and
Yeah.
it can be amazing. And like, that's lasted you so many years before you've just hired the first
Whew.
person to help you do that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I've been wearing all the hats. I've been wearing all the hats. I know how to make the hats.
Yeah.
And so all those skills definitely cross over.
Yeah, definitely. And so when we talk about like your brand, obviously there's the visual side of things, but then there's also kind
Right.
of the brand strategy, like your mission and vision
Hmm.
and all of that stuff. And I know that on your website, I could see you have some like quite clear values, right? About being ethical,
Yeah.
about your work being like not boring and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
is that something that you've thought about intentionally? And yeah, tell me about the process of like those kind of things,
Yeah.
aside from just the visual.
That's so funny because that tagline of ethical, not boring came up because I was pitching my work a few years ago, like for wholesale accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the stores that I focus on are like independent boutiques and stuff like that. And like those that carry ethical brands and things like that. And she was just like, well, we really prefer the ethical look, like neutrals and da 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 da. And I'm like, why does neutral and calm and tan and like linens equal ethical?
Yeah.
I'm like, why is that the only definition of ethical? So I started saying my work is ethical, not boring after that. No
That's
shade
awesome.
to everybody else. But I'm like, us maximalist people should be able to, be included in that too.
Yeah.
We just use a few more colors. That's all. The color
Mm-hmm.
palette is a bit bigger. But really, WM started out of just wanting to be able to express myself, use fashion as a communication tool, love myself a little bit better, be a little bit nicer to myself. And I felt like, okay, if I have those feelings and I know I'm a creative person, there's got to be other people who feel that same way. And there's got to be people who care about how their things are made or the quality of things, or really just want something that's incredibly fly that they ain't seen nowhere else, that they can include into their existing wardrobe, style it how they want to, and not feel like, they're doing something to keep up with the rest of the world. They are making their own world. The world of WM I see it as just like this complete ecosystem to where I can be a part of so many different opportunities. I'm able to be visible in different ways on different platforms, all because I just like being loud.
Yeah.
And really everything kind of started because I design all of my fabric. I love textile design. And that is the thing that really made me feel like, okay, you got a unique voice. If you can sit here and design some fabric that came out of your head, that's your edge right there. Like, can't nobody mess with that. Like, nobody can take what you're drawing. I mean, they can try, but they'll get a quick cease and desist, let me tell you. But being able to create my own textiles and create at a fast pace and really think of the idea of working with the body instead of against it is what really just fuels me to keep creating. And yeah, I don't know. I just really want to be able to create, like combine those fine art techniques in a wearable way. So I don't want to necessarily make couture or like bridal gowns. I want to wear stuff that matches and I can go out, to a meeting or to the grocery store.
Yeah, amazing. And you mentioned just before about how you can be visible on so many different platforms in so many ways, and you love talking about what you do and being loud, and that's awesome. I know that your clothes have been in like Vans ads and Wendy's. You've just recently been in the reboot of Bel Air, which is incredible. How have all of these kind of opportunities come about to like grow your brand and get more visible? And was that like intentional to try and get those things?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, like so many of us, 2020 completely rocked my world. And it got to the point where every like kind of little gig I had just stopped. It dried up basically. And I didn't kind of like notice it. Well, I did at first. And then after a while, business and studio picked up, because up until that point, my primary source of income business wise relied on in-person interactions. That's completely off the table. I mean, I was days away from going to a show to like exhibit in a show in Atlanta when it was like, they were like, don't come. And you quickly trying to figure out what to do. And, up until then, I would get online sales every now and then. I would consistently put in the work to build it and have like a working platform. It's just that, it wasn't being seen. And so out of nowhere, it's like people are rushing there. Oh, okay. That could have been overwhelming had I not done the work, all those years leading up to it. And so it was like I was able to take it in stride. And it was a few months into it where I was like, I've been only coming to studio every day. Like, what is going on? And I'm fine. I ate today, like everything is paid for this month. What's going on? I think if I had to make the conscious decision of like, I'm going to be a full-time entrepreneur, I don't think I would have made it. I think I would have felt like, oh, I can keep working like 60 some odd hours a week between WM and all my jobs, because I've been doing it now. Like, what's the problem? I could just keep doing it and I can have the security. Because, you hear coaches be like, you should have like a year of expenses saved and like stuff like that. If I had to go about it that way, I would have kept pushing that date out and out and out, like the closer I would have gotten. So as messed up and just terrible and hard the pandemic has been, it has leveraged a lot of opportunities for artists. People that would have never known about me now know about me. Our brands, and it's one of those like double-edged swords, because it's like, it's amazing, but at the same time, it's like, look at what it took for that to happen. And I just really made sure, I was ready to be able to take advantage of whatever opportunity, keep flipping it and flipping it and flipping it until it turns into something else. And so really, the grant from Joanne in 2020, and then being in the ConvertKit commercial were like the two things that, like, after that, it was just like, we rolling.
Amazing.
So I'm so thankful for it. I be telling people thank you profusely. I'm like, I hope they know that I genuinely mean it, because like, for real, like, it changed my life. And so the production company that filmed the ConvertKit commercial, the directors are like, hey, have you ever considered doing wardrobe design? And I'm like, no, I didn't even know that was an option. So he's like, we think you would be great for this project we're doing for Wendy's. You want to join? And who do I look like? What I look like saying no? Like, yeah, of course.
Yep.
I mean, and what an experience, to be able to like, okay, you get to style. And then one of them, I made the costumes, like I designed and stitched them. And, I've done a few other projects with them where I'm styling the actors that are in the commercials. And it's like, what the heck is going on? And the Bel Air thing, Morgan Cooper, the creator, is from Kansas City, Missouri. Also, I had never met him before, but yes, my name got passed along to the costume department. So I sent work for the character Ashley Banks, and a few pieces have been featured so far in the season. And it's like, okay, this is happening. I have to kind of pinch myself and be like, yo, you need to like relax and enjoy what's happening, because this is not normal. This is like, it's not just another check on the to-do list. There's work involved, stay focused, stay steadfast. There's work involved, but also like, go ahead and enjoy it and be proud of yourself. Like, you work a little too hard. It's hard for artists to do that, but it's been an amazing journey. I'm glad to be able to keep growing. I'm glad that even when these opportunities weren't there, I had enough good sense to keep doing the work, so that way I would be prepared for days like this.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like such a good lesson for so many people who are maybe like in that, earlier stage of like just working and trying and putting in the effort and doing all those little things to work towards those goals, that all it takes is one opportunity or one offer or one person or one connection to make it happen. And if you just keep going, keep putting in the passion and the work, then it will work out. And then, hopefully like you will just fly onwards from there.
You never know. I mean, honestly, like even when I have felt like I am like having the worst creative block of my life, I still know that I have to show up consistently, even if only 5 people are listening. Those people or those brands or those dream clients you have, they're going to look back at your feed or at your CV or at your website and say, okay, well, what was she doing 3 years ago? And if 3 years ago you were feeling at your lowest, and because you were feeling at your lowest, you just dipped off the scene, I'd be like, oh, well, I don't know if we can work with that person because they seem inconsistent. I think just being able to, of course, allow myself to have those moments where it's like, listen, I don't feel like doing nothing.
Yeah.
I need a minute. Of course, allow that. But even if it's like you're just sketching only, or, just talking about that struggle of what it's like to be in a creative block, at least you showing up.
Yeah, definitely. And then it will be worth it when you get to these moments like you're in now, where, like you said, you can pinch yourself and say, those 3 years ago, look at where I was and look at where I am now. And I can take a moment to reflect that. And I can totally relate to like not taking those moments to like enjoy the moment. I think as creators and entrepreneurs, especially who are so like visionary, we're always thinking about like the next thing and where we want to go and what this thing could lead to the next thing. It can be hard to be like, oh, but actually this thing right now is pretty cool. We just take a second. Yeah. So I love that you're like, I'm trying to enjoy it. That's awesome. So I noticed also like on your website, you have done like a lot of magazine features. You got a lot of cool like PR stuff. Has that all come in the last few years since those opportunities as well? Or
you know what? So we would do pro practices in school, junior and senior year. And one of my professors was like, if you don't talk about yourself, nobody cares, because nobody is going to know who you are. I was just always of like that old school, like train of thought, any and everything you do, send a press release. And I have built really, really great long-standing relationships with press outlets here in Kansas City. Anytime they see that I'm doing something, and this has been this way from when I graduated from college through now.
Amazing.
And, that really helped, because we can talk about ourselves till we blue in the face, but to be honest, the public doesn't really pay attention until somebody else says, no, you need to pay attention to this person. Very early lesson I learned.
That's great. Thanks to that professor back in the day for highlighting that and recommending that. That's awesome. I think that, I was just interested in it because I feel like a lot of creatives, like instantly when we think about creating or sharing our work, we just go to like social media. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
That's the option, right? But there are so many other ways to get your work out into the world, and like, getting into magazines or newspapers or getting PR in some way is a really smart way to do that. So I love that you did that. That's awesome. So now, just to wrap things up, there's a couple of questions that I always ask everybody. The first is, what is the biggest lesson that you have learned about branding your passion?
Woo. I think the biggest lesson I've learned about branding, to really not take it too personal.
Mm-hmm.
I have learned, and I would say at least within the last 3 years, first of all, you have to have a bit of an ego to be an artist. I don't think a lot of us like to admit that. And that's not a bad thing. And really ego in the sense of drive, because to think about, to get up every day and have the nerve to say, I'm gonna sew some stuff and people will love it and they'll buy it and they'll wear it and they'll just keep doing that. That takes guts. But at the same time, you got to keep that in check. I have learned to separate, WM and Whitney. They are the same person. However, WM has to do her taxes on time. She's got to have good customer service, while Whitney wants to go frolic and roller skate and have fun. And also, just because somebody has critiqued what WM has put out does not mean they are attacking you as a person. And to be able to kind of have that separation, it doesn't mean that I'm detached from my work or that it's not one and the same or not the same person or anything like that. But it allows me to kind of have a little bit more freedom and a little bit more of an aerial view when I'm looking at my work, the work that I'm producing, and the business choices that I make. It's a bit of a Beyonce, Sasha Fierce kind of thing happening. But it really helps me, because otherwise I would be walking around with my feelings hurt all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that advice so much. Well, that lesson is so good. And I think, nowadays so many people talk about like having a personal brand and it's all about you and everything. And that can get tricky if it is so attached. And so, I think that's really smart to think about it from that, like, aerial bird's eye view to be able to step back a little bit and say like, okay, what people think about my work is not about me, or I think that's awesome. So if you were to give advice, and it might be similar to what you were just talking about, but if you were to give advice to other creatives who are thinking about branding their passion or starting their own business as a creative or whatever, what advice would you love to share with them?
Well, start doing things as legal as possible sooner than later. It makes it easier.
Yeah.
I definitely, I'm a super analytical person too. And so I made sure I did very early on, but I listen to my friends a lot of time. And I'm like, whoo, I would not want to be in that situation. So yeah, be as legal as possible as soon as you can. Also, I think at the end of the day, it can be really easy to kind of get stuck in this cycle. And I mean, even right now, this whole month has felt like one long Monday. And I'm like, I need to go ahead and put the "we're closed" sign up, so to speak, on the website. And I need to just go somewhere and sketch and sit in the sun and eat raspberries and be fine. And not worry about my email or did I get something out on time or anything like that, because I still have to make sure that the inner art kid that's going into the art classroom is still happy. Yeah. Because if I can't show up to this space every day happy and fulfilled and excited to try something new or give myself the time to try something new, this is not going to be sustainable. I'm going to keep just copy and pasting, and that's not fun. No. So I think just really be diligent about giving yourself space to explore consistently as an artist. Whether or not it's a successful exploration, you never know. You never know when something might come back around, or you just did it to satisfy something within yourself or work through your own, troubles that day.
Yeah, it can be, so easy as creative entrepreneurs to get caught up in the day-to-day, like you said, the emails and deadlines and all of that stuff, and forget the inner child and the creative soul that you have. So yeah, that's beautiful, incredible advice. So thank you so much. Thank you just in general for being on the show. I have had the best time hearing all about what you do and how you've grown your business is so cool. So do you want to tell everybody where they can find you and what you have going on right now that you want to share with them?
Yeah, so you can find me at WHITNEYMANNEY.com, and my last name is spelled Manney. Also, you can find me at Whitney Manney on Instagram and Twitter, where I am the most active. Right now, like I said, I'm working on that website relaunch, so it'll probably be live in a couple of weeks. And so I'll be releasing some older designs that have been updated and working on some new collections like swim again this summer. So that'll be exciting, and just also challenging myself this year to go ahead and release a new collection, because it's been a while. I've been a little timid to do it, but I'm pushing myself to do it. Y'all hold me accountable.
Yeah, we will. That's amazing. We will make sure that all the links to everything are in the description and everything. So please go and check out Whitney and support her work and be there for the website launch. I'm excited to see it. It'll be awesome. Cool. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for listening. We will see you next week. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Brand Your Passion and choosing to spend time with me learning all about branding, business, and all things creativity. You can find more episodes just like this one at makerandmoxie.com/podcast. If you like this one, you can tap that subscribe or follow button so that you're notified about each and every new episode. And if you've got a spare second, please leave a review on iTunes or wherever it is that you're listening to this podcast, because I would absolutely 100% love to hear from you. If there were some helpful goodies in this episode for you, it would mean the world to me as well if you could screenshot that podcast player right now, hop on over to Instagram or Twitter and tag us at Maker and Moxie. By subscribing, reviewing, and sharing, you're helping reach more creators just like you, so that together we can make the world a more creative place, one brand at a time. We can't achieve this mission without you, so your support means the absolute world. I will talk to you in the next episode, but until then, keep creating.